Very good evening and welcome to the news tonight here on Rajya Sabha TV. In the next 30 minutes, I, Tracy Shilshi, will take you through all the top stories from India and across the world. Let's start with the headlines. Campaigning ends in Uttar Pradesh and Manipur. UP to have its 7th and final phase for 40 seats on the 8th of March. Manipur to see voting for 22 seats. Supreme Court refuses to stay the arrest of Uttar Pradesh Minister Gayatri Prajapati, says it is anguish to see its orders being given a political colour. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari arrives in Indonesian capital Jakarta. During the two-day visit, he will attend the summit of the 21-nation Indian Ocean Rim Association. And in the Bengaluru Test, India ends third day at 2-13 for 4. Unbeaten partnership between Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane ensures a crucial 126-run lead against visiting Australian side. First, let's get you all the latest from the ongoing assembly elections in Verdict 2017. Starting with UP, a highly charged final phase of campaigning for the state ended on Monday with a show of strength by all three main contenders, the BJP, the Samajwadi Party Congress combined and the BSP. 40 seats spread over 7 districts, including 5 in Varanasi, will go to polls on the 8th of March. This will bring to an end a 2-month-long exercise staggered over 7 phases. The focus recently has been on Varanasi, with the Prime Minister, the UP Chief Minister, Congress Vice President and the BSP Chief all descending upon the district. Varanasi, remember, is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Lok Sabha constituency. And on the last day of campaigning for the 7th phase, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held those rallies in Varanasi, and he first paid tributes to former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri at his ancestral home in Garwa Ghat Ashram in Varanasi, where he offered prayers and also fed cows at the ashram's shelter. Addressing a rally later, Modi said that even after decades, Lal Bahadur Shastri's Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan slogan is still inspiring. He also said that to change the nation, the lives of farmers and the conditions of villages need to change first. Speaking about law and order in Uttar Pradesh, Modi said that the people in the state are scared to go to police stations and women and children are not safe in a state ruled by mafia gangs. The Prime Minister signed off his campaign rally with his campaign trail with a rally at Rohania. Also addressing poll rallies on the last day of campaigning, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav described the Prime Minister as unique for projecting the issue of electricity as a Hindu-Muslim matter. Challenging the Prime Minister at a rally in Jaunpur, Akhilesh asked whether his constituency, Varanasi, is in fact receiving 24 hours of uninterrupted power supply. He also said the government at the centre has failed to fulfill the promises that it made in the last 3 years. Raking up the one rank, one pension issue, or ORAP, he charged Modi with cheating on the matter and accused Modi of misleading farmers in the name of loan waivers. Addressing another public rally in Jaunpur, Rahul Gandhi promised that the Congress and SP government will make Uttar Pradesh the manufacturing hub of the world. Calling the Prime Minister an old man, Rahul Gandhi said that Modi's Achhe Din film has flopped. He also accused Modi of aiding the rich and established business families of India. Meanwhile, Supreme Court today refused to stay the arrest of Uttar Pradesh Minister Gayatri Prajapati in cases related to alleged gang rape and attempt to rape. Prajapati, the then State Transport Minister, has been evading arrest since the 27th of February after the Supreme Court directed the state police to lodge an FIR against him. It ordered Prajapati to approach the appropriate court for relief. A bench headed by Justice A.K. Sikri also expressed unhappiness that its order on lodging an FIR against Prajapati was given political colour. Now, boatmen, farmers and fishermen who live along the Ganga in Varanasi find themselves a delusion lot, with every candidate paying lip service to their needs. Varanasi's boatmen and fishermen have floated their own political party, Nishad, that is contesting its first election this year. Here's a special report.
Banaras is incomplete without its boatmen and fishermen. Not just their social role, but their political contribution is no less significant. In 2014, both groups rallied strongly behind the BJP, but this time they are pinning their hopes on a new outfit, the Nirbal India Shoshit Hamara Aam Dal or Nishad party.
हम लोगों का कोई जो है जो भी काम पड़ता है हम लोग को एक कमेटी बनाया गया है निषाद कमेटी तो जो भी कोई काम पड़ता है हम लोग इकट्ठा होकर अपना निषाद पार्टी की तरफ से हम लोग अपने मांग को पूरा किया जाता है कि हमारा निषाद पार्टी खड़ा है हम उनको सपोर्ट करेंगे या हारे या जीते.
Ironically, the communities fear displacement from a pet development project of the centre. The boatmen fear loss of livelihood by a proposed jetty in the Kashi Banega Kyoto plan. The jetty envisaged in Prime Minister Modi's project runs 500 meters long across the Shivala, the Shashwamedh and the Rajendra Prasad Ghats and 100 meters into the river.
जीटी से हम लोग को बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान है. जीटी अगर लग जाएगी वहाँ तो नाव उस पार बनेगी, नाव बनेगी तो जो है कि कस्टमर जो इसी पार रहेंगे जीटी पर से ही आरती देखेंगे. आरती जब देखेंगे तो हो सकता है आनी तूफान आ जाए. यहाँ जो है गर्मी में हमेशा आनी तूफान आता रहता है तो जीटी जो है खंड खंड हो जाएगा उसमें बहुत लोग मर सकते हैं.
The communities want the government to focus only on cleaning ghats and promoting tourism in Varanasi. They claim that tourists come for the ancient heritage and culture of Banaras and alterations in the original structures will only hurt local residents.
घाट की सर सफाई मेन यहाँ की व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए जो कि कंटिन्यूअस चलनी चाहिए. इसको नहीं तो ऐसे ही मतलब जैसे आज स्थिति है सर सफाई की वजह से तो ये स्थिति है. नहीं पहले सफाई नहीं होती थी यहाँ कोई नहीं आता था. आज सर सफाई होने की वजह से यहाँ सबकी रोजी रोजगार बढ़ा हुआ है. मॉडर्नाइजेशन की कोई यहाँ जरूरत नहीं है. जो नेचुरल चीज है इसको ऐसे ही रहने दी जाए.
Boatmen and fishermen belong to the backward communities. They comprise 16% of the state's population and are spread across 75 constituencies along the route of the Ganga and 45 seats along the Yamuna in the state.
The discourse among these backward communities is centered around the belief that their backwardness is due to underrepresentation in politics. After consolidating under their own party, they feel that they can wobble the boats of bigger political parties on March 11th. Reporting from Varanasi with camera person Arvind, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
And now to Manipur, which will vote for the second and final phase on the 8th of March. A total of 22 constituencies will witness polling, most of which are in the hilly areas. 98 candidates are contesting in this phase, and most prominently, Irom Sharmila will take on Chief Minister Ibobi Singh in his bastion Thoubal. Here's why this phase is crucial for the ruling Congress. 6 districts, Chandel, Imphal East, Senapati, Tamenglong, Thoubal and Ukhrul will go to polls in the second phase. All eyes will be on Thoubal, where the Chief Minister, Okram Ibobi Singh, for the first time since 2002, will face a prominent candidate against him, Iron Lady of Manipur and Praja Party convener, Irom Sharmila. But Ibobi's personal battle aside, the Congress will have its attention on the tribal vote as well. The hill districts, especially the Nagas, account for 12 to 15 seats in this phase.
So the Congress party is that they could not capitalize on that earlier score they were having over any opponent when the new districts were created. So altogether the issues have been diverted. It has gone beyond creation of districts. Now people are looking much beyond the districts. Okay, now districts are created, what next?
The Nagas have been united in their stand against the formation of the new districts in the state. Supported by the United Naga Council and the NSA-NIM, the Naga People's Front, or the NPF, has emerged stronger in the past few weeks, but a split in the vote could benefit the BJP.
Issue of the economic blockade and the issue of the NSA-NIM and this agreement signed with the Government of India, this is a new factor that has entered into tribal politics. And I think this is going to polarize the two major tribal groups, the Kukis and the Nagas. One big, large Naga group have been identified with this NSA-NIM. So as such, I think that this NSA-NIM supported groups are going to have a tougher time this year.
Kukis also form another major force in this phase as they influence almost 5 to 6 seats. Many senior leaders from the community left the Congress for the BJP, but their anti-Naga stance could help the Congress.
In the Naga areas, there is an anti-Congress feeling. See that is there. So therefore, and then the fact that there is an anti-incumbency factor among the Nagas and the Kukis who have won last year's elections. And so this anti-incumbency plus anti-Congress, these things are going to work.
Campaigning came to an end at 3 p.m. and now hopes are that voters turn out in full force to make the tribal vote count. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV. Now, as you can see, Thoubal, of course, is a very important constituency for Manipur, where Chief Minister Ibobi Singh is fighting against Irom Sharmila and also BJP candidate L. Basanta Singh. Voting will take place in the second phase on the 8th of March, and this constituency falls in the valley, where agriculture is the main profession of the people.
Thoubal is a developed district in Manipur. Roads and marketplaces are better than even capital city Imphal. Many people here are content with the current Congress government.
कांग्रेस सरकार में यहाँ का तो बहुत सारा यानी कि डेवलपमेंट के और सारे यानी कि इस गांव के लिए तो बहुत अच्छा कर रहा है उसने.
Chief Minister Ibobi Singh is an MLA from this constituency for the last 2 terms. Being his home constituency, the BJP accuses him of being partial towards it. BJP supporters claim Ibobi Singh will be defeated.
थौबल का जो जितना जो वोटर है जिसको धोखा दे के डेवलप का नाम है डेवलप करके बोल के वो इधर में आ गया. जितना जो करप्शन जो है से खाली परिवार के लिए काम करता है, जितना कॉमन पीपल जो इसे काम कुछ देखता नहीं है, जो इसीलिए मेरे को पब्लिक ने मेरे को प्रोजेक्ट किया है इबोबी को हटाने के लिए.
A lot of development program had been done by Ibobi Singh, Minister Manipur Honorable.
The constituency is a bastion of the Meitei community, to which Ibobi Singh belongs. While there are chances of polarization against the United Naga Council blockade in the constituency, the BJP is accusing Ibobi Singh of having a hand in the continuing blockade.
क्यों सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं बीजेपी को?
ये अभी नया बदली आ रहा है, इसीलिए तो हम लोग इसको चाहता हूँ. दिल्ली में सरकार बीजेपी का हो रहा है, तो हमारे मणिपुर में भी बीजेपी का होना चाहिए.
Irom Sharmila's decision to fight from this constituency has added another flavor to the polls.
I can win the election with notion people's right choice, right thinking to choose me who had been fighting for truth, for repealing a draconian law without a single drop of water through mouth.
Great supporter for the Congress government. Still this working. So all the developmental works are 90%, I think, is taken up by this Congress government. And as long as there is our honorable CM, we will support with our heart, and that's all.
There are about 28,000 eligible voters in this constituency. There are more female than male voters here, a reason why Ibobi Singh has chosen to target the BJP and not Irom Sharmila.
In Thoubal constituency, fight is between ruling power of Congress and BJP and Irom Sharmila's moral force. It will be interesting to see that on 8th March, who wins, moral power of Irom Sharmila or power of Congress or BJP. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Prasanto in Thoubal of Manipur.
Now, NDA constituent Lok Janshakti Party is fighting against the BJP, and this time in Pulban, Manipur. With just one sitting MLA to share the seat, BJP leadership at the centre refused to accommodate its ally. Now, in reaction, the LJP has fielded 17 candidates from Manipur. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke to Ramchandra Paswan, who is the LJP's National Vice President and in charge of Manipur, on the implications of branching out and how it will impact ties with BJP in the future.
लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय उपाध्यक्ष और दलित सेना के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष रामचंद्र पासवान हमारे साथ हैं. रामचंद्र जी, ये आप एनडीए के घटक हैं और इसके बावजूद मणिपुर चुनाव में आपने अपने उम्मीदवार खड़े किए हैं, इसका क्या कारण है?
नहीं, ये केंद्र में तो हैं, लोकसभा का चुनाव हुआ था तो उसमें हमारे पार्टी के साथ में अलायंस था, आज भी है, लेकिन ये स्टेट का चुनाव है और किसी भी स्टेट का चुनाव में हम अलायंस में नहीं रहे। जैसे अभी भी जिस स्टेट में चुनाव हो रहा है तो कहीं किसी स्टेट में हम गठबंधन में नहीं हैं। मणिपुर में चूंकि हमारा बेस था और पहले से यहाँ हमारे पार्टी के एमएलए थे तो उन एमएलए के कंस्टिट्यूएंसी में भी एनडीए के रूप में हम रहना चाहते थे, लेकिन बीजेपी का जब उम्मीदवार आया और सारा चीज को देखते हुए पार्टी ने फैसला लिया कि हमको चुनाव लड़ना है।
एक भी सीट देने के लिए बीजेपी आपको तैयार नहीं थी?
नहीं, एक भी सीट की बात नहीं है, वो बात जब बना ही नहीं तो
आपका एक सिटिंग सीट था तो उसको देने के लिए बीजेपी तैयार नहीं हुई।
अगर वो उतना तक हो जाता तब तो फिर अलग से कैंडिडेट देने का जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ता।
तो मतलब साफ है कि बीजेपी छोटे जो दल हैं एनडीए के उनको महत्व नहीं दे रही है।
ये तो हम नहीं कह सकते हैं कि उनको महत्व नहीं दे रही है, लेकिन हम लोगों को नहीं मिला ये हम कह सकते हैं।
तो लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी को इस बात का मलाल जरूर है कि एक सीट लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी के पास थी मणिपुर में और उसे भी मानने के लिए बीजेपी तैयार नहीं हुई। अब एनडीए के सारे जो छोटे घटक दल हैं उन सब के लिए एक तरह का एक संकेत है कि बीजेपी उन्हें चुनाव में कितना जगह देना चाहती है। राज्यसभा टेलीविजन के लिए कैमरा पर्सन प्रशांता कर्माकर के साथ इम्फाल से अखिलेश सुमन।
With that, a quick break here. Up next, we're getting you all the international news. Stay with us.
Nationalism, to say, is monopolized by a certain section of people whose agenda is that if you're not with me, then you are anti-national.
Nobody can monopolize nationalism and nobody can define nationalism.
It was the war that killed her father. Does BJP see Gurmehar Kaur now as an anti-national?
You have to understand that she's just a student for me. Our battle is with the far leftist ideological group.
Watch to the point with Union Minister of State for Home Affairs, Kiran Rijiju, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back to the news tonight. Now, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari reached Jakarta on Monday on a two-day visit to attend the summit of the 21-nation Indian Ocean Rim Association. At the meet, the leaders will lay emphasis on connectivity, open maritime trade and rights of navigation.
I mean, obviously, maritime safety and security, it's a maritime focused gathering. And the most important thing is that for RIM countries to be able to cooperate with each other, they need safety and security. As you know, we've had in the western part of the Indian Ocean littoral serious problems of piracy and terrorism. For the moment, it has been contained as far as the Northern Arabian Sea region is concerned, thanks to very good international cooperation. But these are things which you have to guard against because terrorism is an international phenomenon and it surfaces in different parts of the world.
Now, the theme of the summit is strengthening maritime cooperation for a peaceful, stable and prosperous Indian Ocean. At the meeting, the member nations are expected to adopt an IORA Concord and an action plan. The Declaration on Preventing and Countering Terrorism and Violent Extremism is an agreement of the IORA member states about the importance of countering terrorism. The IORA Concord is a strategic document containing the vision and norms of the future of cooperation among the member countries. After arriving in Jakarta, the Vice President also met the Defence Minister of Indonesia and attended a dinner hosted by the President later in the evening. Now to the US, where the FBI has rejected President Donald Trump's claims of wiretapping his phone by the Obama administration last year. FBI Director James Comey asked the Justice Department to refute the claims publicly as there were no evidence to support the allegations.
The FBI on Monday rejected US President Donald Trump's claim that his predecessor Barack Obama ordered a wiretap on him last year. FBI Director James Comey told the US Justice Department to publicly reject the allegation, saying it insinuated the FBI broke the law. The controversy comes at a time when the Democrats are accusing Trump of trying to distract from a controversy about possible ties to Russia. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said that wiretap allegations were beneath the dignity of the office and called on the president to provide proof.
I think the president has made a big mistake by delving into this. He's focused on the issue. He's trying to divert, but he's focusing on it. But either way, there's trouble. If the president stated this without checking it out and it proves to be false, that's serious stuff.
Trump, who faces intense scrutiny over alleged Russian interference in his presidential bid, made the claims in a series of tweets on Saturday without giving evidence.
We're talking about our former president coming after our people and our vote. And if he can do that to him, he would have done that to any one of us.
The White House has asked the U.S. Congress to examine whether the Obama administration abused its investigative authority in the 2016 campaign. A spokesperson for Obama denied the allegation, calling it simply false. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Pakistan's former National Security Advisor today exposed the role of Pakistan in the 26/11 Mumbai attacks. Speaking at the 19th Asian Security Conference in New Delhi, Pakistan's former National Security Advisor, Major General Mahmood Ali Durrani, said that the Mumbai terror attacks were carried out by a terror group based in Pakistan. Durrani, who was Pakistan's NSA when 26/11 happened, also said that Hafiz Saeed had no utility and that Pakistan should act against him. Speaking at the conference, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar said that terrorism is the biggest challenge for world peace and security. He also said that India is bearing the brunt of this proxy war that's going on for several decades. Responding to Durrani's comment, Minister of State for Home Kiren Rijiju said that there's nothing new in Durrani's remark.
The terrorist attack in Mumbai carried out by a terrorist group based in Pakistan on 26 November 2008 is a classic trans-border terrorist event. I hate to admit this, but this is true.
Afghanistan and India have been victims of this proxy war for decades now. This is why its framing of CCIT, India has included within its ambit action against entities that fund terror groups, propagate terrorist ideologies, and provide safe haven to terrorists.
And now let's get you some more international news updates in Global Buzz. China has once again urged restraint after North Korea launched 4 ballistic missiles towards the Sea of Japan today. In a statement, the Chinese Foreign Ministry condemned the tests, calling them a breach of UN resolutions. According to the South Korean military, the missiles were fired from near the North's border with China. 3 of the missiles are reported to have fallen into Japan's exclusive economic zone. China hiked its military spending by 7% to $152 billion or over $1 trillion yuan. According to Chinese officials, much of this year's budget is expected to go towards developing the Navy. This is the first time that China's military spending crossed $1 trillion yuan. The latest hike makes China's defense budget about 3 times higher than India's $53.5 billion. The Pakistani military has warned the US government of a huge crisis in Afghanistan if the US and Britain did not halt the advances of the Islamic State and Taliban in the war-torn country. According to a senior Pakistan Army official, the West is losing control of Afghanistan and the situation could tempt Russia to stage a Syrian-style intervention. In an interview to British newspaper The Telegraph, the Pakistani army official said that Russia could use the security collapse as an excuse to extend military operations into Afghanistan. And now let's turn our focus to sports. And in cricket, in the Bengaluru Test, India ended the third day at 213 for 4, taking a crucial 126 runs lead in the second innings. Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane were at the crease with an unbeaten 93-run partnership for the 5th wicket. Opener KL Rahul gave India a solid start in the second innings with his second 50 of the match. However, the hosts once again seemed to be in trouble with Josh Hazlewood's 3 wickets, reducing India to 120 for 4. Pujara then steadied the innings along with Rahane with a well-composed half-century. Earlier, the hosts wrapped up Australians' innings on 276 with spinner Ravindra Jadeja picking up 6 wickets.
213 for 4, the lead 1 is not out 40s, look good.
And here are more updates from the world of sports in SportsBeat. Veteran Indian tennis player Leander Paes was retained in the Indian squad for the Davis Cup tie against Uzbekistan next month. The 6-member squad also includes singles specialists Yuki Bhamri, Ramkumar Ramanathan, Rohan Bopanna, along with youngsters N. Sriram Balaji and Prajnesh Guneshwaran. The tie against Uzbekistan will be Mahesh Bhupati's first as India's non-playing captain. England beat West Indies by 4 wickets in the second one-day international to win the series with a match to spare. Batting first, West Indies were bowled out for 225 runs. England wobbled in the chase, but half-centuries from Joe Root and Chris Woakes took them to a victory with 10 balls to spare. American Dustin Johnson held off a strong European challenge to win his first tournament as world number 1 at the World Golf Championships in Mexico. Johnson finished at 14 under 270 for his second consecutive victory after winning at Riviera in California 2 weeks ago, which put him at the top of the rankings. And that's all we have for you in the news tonight. From the entire team here, good night. We'll see you again tomorrow.